My fiancée revealed she's pregnant with my business partner's baby, then told me to act like an adult, weigh what we have over a small mistake. So I got my brutal revenge. Sup, Reddit. Never thought I'd be the guy sitting here at 3 a.m., typing out the complete collapse of his life with nothing but a bottle of soda for company. But here we are. Welcome to the dumpster fire. I'm 32, male, and I own a commercial HVAC company in Phoenix. Built it from absolute zero. When my old man died, the grand inheritance he left behind was a rusted Ford Ranger, $1,600 in gambling debts, and a toolbox so old half the equipment inside looked like it belonged in a museum. Real heartwarming legacy, right? 7 years later, after grinding every single day, the company now clears around $320,000 a year with 11 guys on payroll. Every callus on my hands has a story behind it. Every scar came from learning something the hard way. My fiancée, Jocelyn, 30, and I had been together for 4 years. She worked in pharmaceutical sales. Gorgeous doesn't even begin to describe her. The kind of woman who could walk into a dive bar and suddenly every guy inside forgot what he'd been doing 5 seconds earlier. Smart, ambitious, and expensive as hell. I bought her a $28,000 engagement ring with a custom setting. She said she deserved perfection. The wedding was scheduled for October, just 3 months away. I'd already dropped $7,000 on a resort venue in Sedona. Another 3 on a photographer who'd once shot a celebrity wedding, which apparently made him worth every ridiculous dollar. Meanwhile, I was pulling 14-hour days trying to make sure we started married life debt-free. That's just how I'm wired. I don't like owing people. I don't like loose ends. My business partner, Wade, had been with me for about 2.5 years. I brought him in to schmooze property managers and clients while I actually handled the technical side, fixing broken systems and keeping projects moving. Wade could sell ice to someone standing in a snowstorm. He had this smooth, effortless confidence that made people trust him within 10 minutes. At the time, we were chasing a massive contract servicing all the HVAC systems for a new casino resort near Tucson. Multi-million-dollar opportunity. The kind that changes everything. 8 straight months of building relationships, submitting proposals, undercutting competitors without bleeding ourselves dry. Wade handled the people. I handled the work. Perfect setup. Or so I thought. That Thursday started like any other day. I was scheduled to be stuck on a commercial job until around 9 p.m. A catastrophic chiller failure at an office building had turned the whole place into a nightmare. Some rookie maintenance guy had ignored warning signs for months, and now the entire system was fried. The building owner was threatening lawsuits because his tenants were basically melting inside 100-degree offices. My crew busted their backs all day. We replaced the compressor, flushed the refrigerant lines, rebuilt half the control system. By the end of it, my hands were raw from the heat, my shirt soaked through with sweat. At 4 p.m., we got the inspector out for emergency certification. He passed the system while acting like he was doing us the biggest favor in human history. By 5 o'clock, we were finally done. Sweaty, exhausted, covered in refrigerant oil and duct tape residue. But done. I figured I'd head home early. Surprise Jocelyn. Maybe take her to that overpriced sushi place she'd been hinting about for weeks. Honestly, I couldn't even remember the last time we'd had a real date night. When I pulled into the driveway, Wade's black Silverado was already parked there. That wasn't unusual. He came over all the time to talk business or go over client presentations. We'd been working on the casino pitch earlier that week. Still, something about it felt off. Why was he here when I wasn't even home? Then I walked through my front door. The living room was completely silent. Both of them were sitting on my leather sectional. Jocelyn on one end, Wade on the other. They weren't touching. They weren't even talking. They were just sitting there, like two people waiting to hear a death sentence. Jocelyn's eyes were swollen and red. Mascara had run down her cheeks in dark streaks. She looked like she'd been crying for hours. Wade couldn't even look at me. He kept staring at the floor like it held the answers to the universe. Every alarm bell in my body started screaming. "Hey, what's going on?" I asked, still holding my keys, my work boots tracking dirt across the floor. Jocelyn took a long, shaky breath. The kind of breath someone takes right before they blow your entire life apart. Adam, we need to talk. Her voice was barely above a whisper. I'm pregnant. My first reaction? Pure stupid joy. We talked about kids after the wedding, sure, but accidents happen. In my head, I was already doing the math. If she was pregnant now, the baby would probably arrive around our first anniversary. Honestly, perfect timing. I dropped my keys onto the table and smiled like a complete idiot. Babe, that's incredible. We're going to be parents. I started walking toward her. Why are you crying? This is amazing. That's when Wade finally looked up. The expression on his face is something I'll never forget. Guilt, fear, and underneath both of those, something else. A strange kind of defiance, like he knew he'd screwed up but also dared me to react. It's mine, bro, he said quietly. His voice cracked. The baby's mine. I'm sorry. The entire room tilted sideways. I grabbed the back of a chair to keep from collapsing. What did you just say? Wade swallowed hard before answering. It started about 6 months ago. We couldn't help ourselves. The attraction, it was just too strong, man. We never meant for this to happen. We tried to stop. He shook his head. We couldn't. I just stared at him. I couldn't even form words. Jocelyn's crying got louder, messy and desperate, filling the silence in the room. Adam, I love you. I do. I'm just so confused right now. I don't know what I want. She said it like she was the victim here. Like this whole thing was somehow happening to her instead of something she had chosen every single day for half a year. You don't know what you want? I repeated slowly, the words tasting bitter. You've been screwing my business partner for 6 months, and you don't know what you want? It's not that simple. Actually, Jocelyn, I said quietly, it's exactly that simple. And then came the part that still makes me want to put my fist straight through a wall. Wade leaned forward, hands clasped together like he was about to pitch me a business deal. Look, Adam, I think we can work this out. I laughed. Actually laughed. Work this out. Our friendship, our business partnership. They're too valuable to destroy over this. We're all adults here. We can navigate this maturely. Jocelyn nodded along beside him like he was reciting poetry instead of the most delusional garbage I had ever heard come out of someone's mouth. Maybe we could postpone the wedding for a while, she added softly. I could keep living here while I sort out my feelings. While you sort out your feelings. I stared at her. You said it back to her flat dead in my house that I pay for. How long? I asked Wade directly. Exactly how long? He hesitated for half a second. 6 months. 6 freaking months. Right when we had landed the biggest contract of my entire career. That $1 million office complex that was supposed to put us on the map. While I was working 16-hour days building our future. Sleeping 4 hours a night. Eating gas station sandwiches for dinner. Grinding myself into dust. My fiancée had been sleeping with my business partner in my bed. 12 weeks pregnant, I said quietly, doing the math out loud. So you got pregnant about 3 months into the affair. Neither of them said anything, and suddenly a memory hit me. New Year's. I'd worked straight through until January 2nd. Came home completely exhausted. Handed Jocelyn the diamond tennis bracelet she'd been hinting about for months. And then I went straight back to work on the 3rd because we had an emergency call. While I was killing myself for our future, they had been together. While I was building our life, they were building their own. I turned back to Wade and just looked at him. Didn't say anything. Just let the silence stretch until he started squirming under it. Finally, I spoke. Get out of my house. I didn't yell. I didn't scream. My voice came out flat and dead. So calm it didn't even sound like it belonged to me. Wade stood up slowly, his hands raised like I was pointing a gun at him. Adam, come on. Let's talk about this. Our business is too important to destroy over personal complications. Personal complications. I took one step toward him. You knocked up my fiancée, and you're calling it a personal complication? Like it's a scheduling conflict. I'm just saying, he rushed on. We've built something together. Years of work. We can separate the business from... I took another step closer. You've got about 5 seconds to walk out that door before I drag you out by your throat. Wade's entire demeanor collapsed instantly. That smooth salesman confidence disappeared like water hitting hot concrete. His face went pale and he backed up fast enough to bump into the coffee table. Adam, let's just... 4. This is crazy, man. We can. 3. He snatched his keys off the counter and practically ran for the door. Didn't even look back at Jocelyn. Didn't say goodbye. He just bolted. The door slammed behind him, and a second later I heard his Silverado peel out of the driveway like his ass was on fire. Funny how fast that brotherhood disappeared when things got real. I turned back toward Jocelyn. She was still sitting on the couch, frozen in place. Mascara streaking her face, eyes wide, staring at me like a stranger had just walked into her living room wearing my face. Adam, please let me explain. You're next. She blinked. What? I want you out of this house tonight. You can't do that, she said immediately. This is my home too. I live here. My name is... Your name isn't on a damn thing, Jocelyn. Not the mortgage. Not the deed. Not even the utility bills. My voice stayed flat, controlled. You've got until I get back to pack whatever you can carry. Anything still here after that goes in the dumpster. Her crying ramped up instantly. Loud, dramatic sobbing. The same manipulative performance that used to make me want to fix whatever was wrong. Now it just sounded like static. Where am I supposed to go? I don't have anywhere. Should have thought about that before you spread your legs for my business partner. She flinched like I'd slapped her. Adam, please. I love you. I made a mistake. We can work through this. Couples survive this all the time. We just need counseling. We need to talk. No, I said quietly. We don't. I grabbed my keys off the table. You wanted Wade so bad? Go find him. Maybe he'll let you cry on his shoulder in whatever parking lot he's hiding in right now. I walked to the door, then stopped, turned back one last time. 11 months of engagement. 4 years together. A $28,000 ring. And you threw it all away for a guy who just ran out of here like a scared little. I shook my head slowly. You two deserve each other. I walked out, got in my truck, drove to my buddy's place and didn't look back. Gavin runs his own plumbing business and does subcontract work for my company. I've known him since the days when we were both grinding through college, working random gigs just to keep up with tuition. Solid guy, dark sense of humor. The kind of friend who answers the door with snacks and pizza when you show up unannounced at 6 in the evening looking like death warmed over. He opened the door, took one look at my face, and frowned. Man, who died? So I told him everything. Every word. Every detail. Every look on their worthless faces. He didn't interrupt. Just listened quietly, handed me a soda, cracked open one for himself, and waited until I finished. Then he leaned back in his chair. So your business partner knocked up your fiancée, and their solution is for everyone to just share custody of the situation like some kind of reality show. That's the proposal. He took a long drink and shook his head slowly. Bro, that's rough. But hey, at least now we know Wade's only good at laying one kind of pipe. I almost laughed. Almost. Then he said something that stuck with me. You know what this looks like to me? Jocelyn watches you build this company from nothing. Sees your bank account getting bigger every year. Meanwhile, Wade's right there whispering in her ear about how he's the real brains of the operation. How one day he's going to take over. He shrugged. She didn't just fall into bed with him by accident, man. She hedged her bets. It sounded paranoid at first, but the more I thought about it, the more it made a disturbing amount of sense. The next 4 days were a nightmare. Not the dramatic kind where everything explodes at once. The slow, grinding kind. The kind where every phone call brings a new problem, and every possible solution costs money you don't have sitting around. First thing I did was call the contract attorney who had drafted our partnership agreement. $500 just for him to review the dissolution clause over the phone. And the news was worse than I expected. Without documented cause, he told me, Wade can force you to buy out his shares at fair market value. With your current contracts, that's over $300,000. Money I absolutely did not have. What counts as cause? I asked. Breach of fiduciary duty, fraud, misrepresentation to clients, criminal activity. Anything you can document that shows he violated his obligations to the partnership. I didn't have any of that. Not yet. Then there was the house. Jocelyn technically had tenant rights even though we never signed a lease. Minimum 30-day eviction notice. Possibly longer if she decided to fight it in court. Even longer if she started playing the pregnancy card. The wedding? $10,000 in non-refundable deposits. Gone. The venue didn't give a damn about my situation. The engagement ring? $28,000 sitting on her finger. Custom piece. Non-returnable. Arizona law says if she breaks the engagement, I can demand it back. If I break it, she keeps it. If it turns into a legal dispute, that means hiring a lawyer. And spending even more money I didn't have. Every direction I looked, I was either bleeding cash or staring down months of legal hell. Jocelyn's texts started that first night. And they didn't stop. I never meant to hurt you. We need to talk about this like adults. I'm pregnant and scared. Adam, I need to know I have somewhere safe to stay. You could at least respond. I'm carrying a child and dealing with hormones and you're just ignoring me. My mother is right about you. You only care about money and work. Wade's messages were somehow even worse. Brother, I know this is complicated, but we've built something special together. The company is bigger than any personal issues. You're angry right now. I get it, but don't make permanent decisions based on temporary emotions. Think about what we're throwing away. The audacity was almost impressive. The guy knocks up my fiancée. And now he's giving me lectures about emotional decision-making. I didn't reply to any of it. I just screenshot everything and saved it all in a folder. Gavin read through the messages and slowly shook his head. They're both still playing the game. They still think they can manipulate you into accepting this. Wade thinks he can smooth talk his way out of consequences. Jocelyn thinks she can guilt-trip you into playing house. He tossed my phone back on the table. They don't realize the game's already over. On day 5, I made a decision. I was done playing defense. It was time to go nuclear. But nuclear requires ammunition. And ammunition requires evidence. So I started digging. I hired a real business attorney this time. A serious one. 30 years of experience and an hourly rate that made my eyes water. $600 just to sit down and talk. Worth every penny. The first thing she told me was simple. If you want to dissolve this partnership without getting financially destroyed, we need cause. Documented, ironclad cause. She leaned forward and tapped her pen on the table. Bring me everything. Every bank statement. Every contract. Every email. Every expense report. Every single piece of paper connected to your business for the past 3 years. So that's exactly what I did. I spent 4 straight days going through every financial document, every email thread, every receipt I could find. Gavin kept bringing over Chinese food and energy drinks while I worked late into the night. His dining room table slowly disappeared under stacks of paperwork because I still couldn't bring myself to go back to my own house without wanting to burn it to the ground. The first night, I focused on expense reports. Just endless credit card statements and receipts. And pretty quickly, I started noticing patterns. Charges at expensive restaurants I'd never been to. Always on nights when I was working job sites. Hotel rooms booked in cities where we didn't even have clients. Car rentals when Wade already had a company truck. I found a $612 charge at Steak 44 on the exact same night I was on a rooftop unit in Mesa until midnight. The second night was emails. Thousands of them. Wade had been sloppy, using his company email for everything because he never once thought I'd actually go looking. I found conversations with Jocelyn planning their hookups. One email subject line simply said, "Tonight," sent at 3:00 p.m. on a Tuesday from his company address. The body of the email read, "Adam's working late again." The third night was contract documents. That's when I found WD's emails to clients positioning himself as the real boss. Not just 1 or 2, dozens of them. In one email, he straight up called himself senior partner and said I handled the technical execution. It was a systematic campaign to undermine me while I was busy keeping the business running. The fourth night was bank records. I cross-referenced every expense Wade had charged to the company against our actual business needs. Every lunch that turned out to be a date with Jocelyn. Every client meeting that was actually him playing golf with his buddies. Every business trip that had no corresponding client or contract. I found a trip charge to Dallas. Hotel, rental car, meals with zero matching calendar entry. No proposal. Nothing. What I found changed everything. Wade had been embezzling. Client dinners at steakhouses I never approved, sometimes $600 a pop, charged straight to the business account. Golf outings at country clubs, $300 or $400 each, a couple of times a month. A networking trip to Vegas that cost $4,800, including a suite at the area, VIP club fees, and room service charges that made my head spin. In total, over $37,000 in unauthorized personal expenses over 18 months. Money that should have been profit. Money that could have gone to employee bonuses or new equipment. Money that went to financing Wade's lifestyle while I was eating convenience store burritos. But that wasn't even the worst part. I found emails, actual email chains, where Wade had been positioning himself as the real owner. Telling potential clients he was the senior partner and I was the technical guy. Giving out his personal cell and telling people to contact him directly for any major decisions. Systematically undermining my authority while I was busy actually running the business. One email stood out. Wade had written to a potential client. Adam is great with the hands-on stuff, but between you and me, the strategic vision comes from my end. When we expand into resort properties, I'll be spearheading that initiative. Strategic vision. From the guy who couldn't identify a compressor if his life depended on it. My attorney's eyes lit up when I showed her everything. This is embezzlement and breach of fiduciary duty, she said, flipping through the expense reports. And this, she added, holding up the emails, is fraud and misrepresentation. We can use this to dissolve the partnership for cause. I asked what that meant for WD's stake. For cause changes everything, she said. It turns his 40% from a payday into a negotiation. We calculate his equity based on company value before these current contracts. His stake right now may be $100,000. If we'd done this after your casino deal closed, over $300. WD's inability to keep it in his pants was about to cost him $200,000. That same week, I served Jocelyn with formal eviction papers. I had a process server deliver them while she was home. I made sure everything was done legally. Arizona law required 30 days notice even though she wasn't on any lease or mortgage. My attorney was crystal clear. Do not lock her out. Do not change locks while she's legally residing there. Do everything by the book or she'll have leverage. So I did it smart. I moved everything valuable to a climate-controlled storage unit. My grandfather's watch collection, power tools, important documents, anything irreplaceable. I installed security cameras in every room, the kind that upload footage to cloud storage automatically. I changed every password on every account. Set up a new email just for communicating with her. Documented everything. Then I told her she had 24 hours notice for final walkthrough and belongings retrieval. She went absolutely ballistic. Texted me 63 times in one night. I counted. She called my family. Started running a smear campaign online about how I'd abandoned her during pregnancy. How she was homeless because of my cruelty. How I'd shown my true colors. Her friends left comments calling me every name imaginable. Her mother called crying, asking how I could be so heartless to an innocent woman carrying a child. I didn't respond to any of it. I just forwarded everything to my attorney for documentation. Wade tried to corner me at the office the following Monday. He showed up at 6:30 a.m., before anyone else arrived. Probably figured he could intimidate me one-on-one. Adam, man? He spread his hands like he was surrendering. We need to fix this like men. I'll do whatever it takes. I looked him dead in the eyes and kept my voice flat. Contact my attorney if you want to discuss business matters. The color drained from his face. He genuinely hadn't expected me to lawyer up. He thought I would just roll over, let him keep his shares, maybe even keep working together like nothing had happened. That's the thing about guys like Wade. They get so used to charming their way out of consequences that they start believing every problem can be solved with a smile and a handshake. The next 3 weeks turned into total war. I started calling our clients directly. I had a list of 23 active accounts Wade had been managing. I kept everything professional, explained that Wade would no longer be representing the company due to internal restructuring related to ethical violations, and told them I would personally oversee their projects going forward. The responses were mixed. The first call was to our biggest client, the casino resort people. The owner was an old-school businessman who'd been in commercial real estate for 40 years. "Thank God," he said the moment I explained the situation. "I've been wanting to say something for months." Wade always felt off, too smooth, made promises that didn't add up, then acted offended when I asked questions. "We only tolerated him because we trusted your work, Adam. Your reputation speaks for itself." Most of the other calls went smoother than I expected. One property manager told me she'd complained to Wade about him showing up late and smelling off. Wade had told her I knew and approved. Complete lie. I was there at 6 in the morning every day while he rolled in at 10. A few clients needed convincing. One medical office owner wanted documentation before making any changes. Fair enough. I sent him the financials showing WD's unauthorized purchases. He stayed. 3 accounts were already gone. $62,000 in contracts. Lost before I even made the calls. Wade had gotten to them first with some story about me being unstable. Those clients didn't want drama. I couldn't really blame them. I promoted Paul, my lead technician, to operations manager. He'd been with me 5 years, knew commercial HVAC systems inside and out, and gave clients straight answers instead of sales pitches. Most clients actually preferred talking to him anyway. When I told him about Wade and Jocelyn, he just shook his head. "Boss, everyone knew Wade was a snake. Just didn't think he'd be dumb enough to bite you." Wade and Jocelyn eventually figured out they were losing, so they went scorched earth. Jocelyn started calling my clients, telling them I was having a breakdown and that projects might not be completed. Wade started telling contractors I'd been making dangerous decisions on job sites and acting unstable. He even called the casino resort guy and claimed I'd been drinking during work hours and yelling at employees. Complete lies, delivered with that same smooth confidence. The casino project went on hold while the client assessed the situation. I didn't argue. I just started collecting proof. Arizona's one-party consent law meant I could legally record calls. I'd already been recording client calls for years just to keep notes. Now I had recordings of 5 different clients repeating exactly what Wade had told them about me. Even better, Wade had made most of his sabotage calls using his company phone. The same phone account I still had full access to. Perfect paper trail. My attorney used the words tortious interference and immediately started drafting new documents. Meanwhile, Jocelyn escalated things online. She posted a long Instagram story claiming I'd abandoned her during pregnancy and that she was homeless because of my cruelty. It included crying selfies and hashtags like toxic men and narcissist. Her mother called me sobbing. "How can you be so heartless to an innocent woman in her condition?" I asked her if she wanted to discuss the identity of her grandchild's actual father and the embezzlement charges her daughter's boyfriend was facing. That conversation ended very quickly. The eviction hearing itself was supposed to be straightforward. Jocelyn wasn't on any lease or mortgage. She'd received proper 30-day notice. There were no legal grounds for an extension. Her attorney, some ambulance chaser her parents had hired, tried to argue that she had implied tenancy rights and requested additional time due to pregnancy and dependent status. The judge looked up from the paperwork. "Does she have a lease? Any rental agreement?" Jocelyn's attorney shuffled his papers. "No written lease, Your Honor. But she's been living there for." "Did she pay rent?" The relationship was. "Did she or did she not pay rent, counselor?" "No, Your Honor." "Then she's a guest." Mr. Harper provided proper notice. She has 48 hours to vacate. But before she left, Wade decided to make one final desperate play. And it backfired so spectacularly I still can't believe they thought it would work. 2 days before the final move out, I went to my house for a condition inspection. I wanted to document everything before Jocelyn left. I had a full checklist ready. Things to photograph, measurements to take, damages to record for potential security deposit deductions. Even though there was no deposit because she'd never been an official tenant. I brought Paul with me as a witness. My attorney had been very clear about that. Never be alone with Jocelyn again. Document everything. Assume you're always being recorded. Bring a witness who can testify if things go sideways. Paul kept his phone in his hand like he was just scrolling, but I'd already told him to hit record the moment Wade showed his face. We showed up at 10 in the morning, exactly as the eviction notice specified. I knocked on the door of my own house like some kind of visitor. Wade answered. He was wearing a polo shirt that still had the price tag hanging off the sleeve, like he'd bought it that morning just to look presentable. His truck was sitting in my driveway behind Jocelyn's car. "What are you doing here?" I asked. I said, keeping my voice level. "Jocelyn invited me to help pack her things," he replied, like that was completely normal. Like he had any right to be standing in my house. "You need to leave. Now. I have as much right to be here as you do." He actually said that. "I'm the father of Jocelyn's baby. That gives me certain rights." I pulled out my phone. "Please note the time." Wade admitted he's in my house without permission from the property owner. "That's trespassing." Paul nodded, pulled out his own phone, and started taking notes. Wade's face turned red. "You can't kick me out. This isn't just your house anymore." "Actually, it is. It's in my name. Mortgage is in my name. Jocelyn has 48 hours left as a legal tenant. You have 0 time. Leave now or I'm calling the police." That's when Jocelyn came out from the bedroom carrying a box of my stuff. My grandfather's coin collection. The one I kept in the back of my closet. The one worth about $6,000. The one Wade probably told her to grab, thinking I wouldn't notice. "Put that down." I said it's mine, she snapped. She had this entitled look on her face. "You gave me access to everything in this house. That means it's community property. We're not married. Community property doesn't exist for us. Put it down." Paul already had his phone up, recording everything. Jocelyn's face went from entitled to panicked in about 2 seconds. She set the box down like it was contaminated. I told both of them they had 5 minutes to grab whatever they were taking and leave permanently. Wade stepped right into my face, physically close. That aggressive stance guys use when they're trying to intimidate someone. "You can't tell me what to do, Adam. I have rights here. I'm the father of Jocelyn's baby. That gives me a stake." Then he shoved me, both hands on my chest, hard enough to make me stumble back. Could have dropped him. I didn't. I kept my hands visible and let the camera do the work. Wade shoved me again, harder. "What are you going to do, tough guy?" Then Jocelyn started screaming. Not yelling, screaming, like someone was being murdered. "He's attacking Wade. Someone call 911. He's trying to kill him." Paul kept recording, kept that camera steady. I still hadn't touched either of them. My hands were still hanging at my sides. The cops showed up at the house first. Wade did his little performance. Jocelyn backed him up with tears and everything. Later that afternoon, an officer came by my office to get my side of the story. I asked him if he wanted to see the video of what actually happened. The footage was crystal clear. Wade shoving me twice while I stood there motionless. Me never touching either of them. Jocelyn clearly signaling Wade to defend himself from an attack that wasn't happening. Her screams starting on cue. The officer's expression shifted from professional neutrality to barely contained disgust. Wade got arrested that night for assault, battery, and filing a false police report. Jocelyn got taken in for questioning. And by Monday, my attorney told me the DA was looking at false reporting charges. Gavin almost injured himself laughing when I told him. They literally tried to frame you for assault and recorded themselves committing crimes instead. This is like watching someone build an elaborate trap and then step into it themselves. The next morning, I froze the company accounts, pending partnership dissolution. By the end of the week, my accountant uncovered another $42,000 in unauthorized expenses we'd missed. Jocelyn's personal trainer, company card, Expensive dinners at restaurants I'd never even heard of. Company card. A weekend trip to Sedona that Wade claimed was client entertainment. Company card. Total bill, $6,300. That included spa packages and ridiculous room service. He'd financed the entire affair using my money, my company, my future. Wade's attorney called 4 days after the arrest. His client was facing criminal charges for assault, battery, and filing a false police report. Those were between Wade and the state of Arizona. But the civil side, that was negotiable. He owed restitution. His partnership stake was about to be dissolved for cause, meaning he'd receive only a fraction of its actual value. And my attorney had made it clear we could pursue additional civil claims for defamation, tortious interference, even treble damages for embezzlement. The lawyer's voice had this pleading quality I'd never heard from an attorney before. My client is willing to sign over his entire partnership share for $1, resign immediately, and repay unauthorized expenses over 3 years. In exchange, Adam agrees not to pursue additional civil claims, and both parties sign mutual releases. $1. The deal wasn't really about the dollar. It was about the mutual releases, about avoiding years of civil court. But Wade was still willing to give up his entire business stake, calculated at around $100,000 before the casino deal, just to end this while he dealt with criminal charges. I told the attorney I'd think about it. Gavin's reaction was immediate. Take it right now. You get everything. Wade learns the most expensive lesson of his life, and forever you get to tell people you bought out your business partner for less than a cup of coffee. My attorney agreed. Fighting in court could drag on for years, cost a fortune, and there's always risk. Clean break, Wade gone forever. The business entirely mine was worth far more than dragging it out. The signing happened at my attorney's office the following week. Wade looked like he'd aged 15 years in 3 weeks. Gaunt, unshaven, clothes that didn't quite fit right anymore. The swagger he used to carry around like armor was completely gone. His attorney made one last attempt to push for better terms. Maybe some kind of profit sharing, maybe a small percentage of future earnings. My attorney didn't even blink. She simply pointed to the evidence spread across the table, the expense reports, the defamatory emails, the assault video, and said calmly, "Your client can sign for $1 in mutual releases, or we add civil fraud, conversion, and interference claims. Criminal charges are out of our hands, but we can make the civil side much more expensive." Wade signed. His hand was shaking. Gavin had insisted on being there as my business consultant, and when Wade walked out, Gavin leaned back in his chair and called after him, "Congratulations! You just set the Arizona state record for most expensive affair. 6 months of sneaking around cost you $100,000 and a career. Hope it was worth it." Wade didn't look back. Jocelyn's situation unraveled even faster. Her parents started calling, demanding to know what charges their daughter was facing. I sent them the police report, the eviction filings, screenshots of her social media posts, and documentation of the property damage. My attorney followed that with a formal demand letter for the ring. She was fired from her pharmaceutical job after complaints about her conduct reached HR. And one of those complaints eventually turned into a lawsuit she had to settle for money she didn't even have. Other legal and financial fallout followed her for a while. 8 months later. The first few months weren't some movie montage where everything magically gets better. I paid a disgusting amount in legal fees, lost 3 contracts I'll never get back, and spent more mornings doing damage control than actually running jobs. But eventually the bleeding stopped. The moment Wade was gone and Jocelyn was out of the house, things started stabilizing. I sold the ring as soon as my attorney cleared it, took the money, and bought diagnostic equipment I'd been putting off for years. Then I cut bonuses for the guys who stayed loyal while my life was basically getting remodeled with a sledgehammer. Paul handled operations, and for the first time in years I wasn't babysitting grown men or apologizing to clients for someone else's sales energy. The casino project eventually came off pause. We finished 3 weeks ahead of schedule, under budget, and the client handed over a $20,000 performance bonus I hadn't even asked for. That one check told me everything I needed to know. The company was never Wade and Adam. It was me, my crew, and the work. Wade tried starting his own HVAC company, but it lasted 4 months before his first job got shut down by inspectors for code violations, and his second client sued him for breach of contract. Commercial HVAC in Arizona is a small world, and word spread fast about what he'd done. For competitors actually called me for references when he applied with them. I didn't badmouth him. I simply sent copies of the police reports and the partnership dissolution showing the $1 buyout. Last I heard, he moved to Nevada to stay with some relative. His career in Arizona is basically over. Jocelyn ended up losing custody of her baby to her parents after getting arrested for shoplifting baby formula while driving a leased BMW. Turns out being unemployed, facing fraud charges, and drowning in debt doesn't exactly help your case when a judge decides whether you're a fit parent. Then last month, both of them showed up at my office without an appointment. Paul saw them first and came into my office looking like he'd just seen a ghost. "Boss, Wade and Jocelyn are in the lobby asking to see you. Want me to call the cops?" Part of me wanted to say yes, but another part of me, the darker, more curious part, wanted to hear what they could possibly say after everything. "Let them in," I told him. "But stay in the room and record everything." When they walked in, they looked like completely different people. Wade had lost at least 40 pounds, his clothes hanging off him, hair thinning from stress. Jocelyn was wearing cheap Target clothes and had dark circles under her eyes that no amount of makeup could hide. They both looked completely broke. Wade started with a rehearsed speech. "Adam, man, I know things ended badly. I've been doing a lot of soul searching, and I think if we could just put aside the personal issues and focus on the business opportunity, we could build something even bigger than before." I just stared at him. Jocelyn jumped in quickly. "I made terrible choices, but that doesn't mean we can't move forward. You're doing so well now. Maybe there's a way we could work together professionally. We could bring value to the company." I let the silence hang in the room and watched them squirm. Wade pulled out a folder, actual printed materials, like this was a real pitch meeting. "We're proposing a 3-way partnership structure. You maintain majority ownership, but Jocelyn and I would each get 15% equity in exchange for our labor and client relationships. We'd need company vehicles, and you'd need to cover our legal expenses, so we can focus on building the business." I stood up slowly. "You're asking me to fund your consequences?" "No." Wade's face went pale. "Adam, please." I cut him off. "Paul, escort them out." Jocelyn started crying. "We have nowhere else to go. My parents won't help us. Wade can't find work." "That's your problem," I said. "You built this. Now you live in it." Wade tried one last desperate move. He looked at me and said quietly, "Remember what we built together? That has to count for something. It counted when I bought you out for $1. We're done here." Paul stepped forward. They just stood there for a moment, finally realizing there was no angle left to play. Then Jocelyn started full-on sobbing, and Wade wore that broken, hollow look on his face. Gavin, who'd been pretending to review paperwork in the corner, muttered under his breath, "Maybe next time. Don't mess where you eat." They left. 2 adults in their 30s, crying in my parking lot because they finally understood some mistakes can't be undone. I felt bad, maybe 15 seconds worth. Then I went back to work. As for me, I'm 33, debt-free, the company is stable, Paul's running operations, and I don't wake up with that knot in my stomach anymore. Wade and Jocelyn made their choices. Now they live with them. Game over. Guys, we are so close to hitting 1,000 subscribers on this channel. If you're not subscribed yet, please consider it. It really helps us reach that milestone. Thanks for making this dream come true.